The Galactic Council, a vast and powerful coalition of ancient alien species, viewed Earth with nothing but disdain. From their perspective, humans were a primitive race, barely capable of space travel, let alone participating in the grand intergalactic politics that shaped the universe. To them, Earth was a backwater planet, trapped in its own petty conflicts and struggling with technology that was laughable at best. It was considered the perfect candidate for subjugation, a species destined to be absorbed into the Council's expanding empire. The Council's members, representing species that had long since mastered advanced technologies and conquered entire star systems, scoffed at the very idea that humans could be a threat to them. To the Galactic Council, humanity was just another fleeting, insignificant blip in the galaxy. Their militaries were barely equipped to fend off their own planetary predators, and their technological advancements were limited to crude weapons and engines that struggled to reach beyond their solar system. As the Council deliberated on how best to integrate Earth into their empire, many saw it as a mere formality. They would send a fleet to destroy any remaining resistance, install their own governance, and begin plundering Earth's resources for the benefit of the Council's members. It was supposed to be a swift and easy operation. After all, what could humans possibly do to resist such an overwhelmingly powerful force? The Council members debated casually, dismissing the human race as nothing more than an obstacle to their greater goals. They viewed humans as weak, almost laughable, emotions clouding their judgment of their own ignorance. Despite all the data they had gathered, they failed to recognize one key truth: humans were far more resilient than they appeared. Their power did not lie in technology or weaponry alone, but in something far more dangerous: their adaptability, their creativity, and their unyielding will to survive. The moment the decision was made, the invasion was set into motion. A fleet of ships, each one bristling with advanced weaponry, descended toward Earth. It wasn't an invasion with the goal of wiping out humanity, at least not at first. The Council was more interested in securing Earth's resources and positioning themselves as the ruling power. They never imagined the humans would resist, let alone fight back with any real force. As the first waves of alien ships began to bombard Earth's defenses, the Council's commanders were ready to laugh. They expected quick capitulation, perhaps some token resistance before humanity was forced to surrender. What they didn't expect, however, was the sudden surge of human ingenuity. Earth's militaries, while still technologically inferior, did not cower. They fought with a determination that was foreign to the Council. Humans were not fighting just for survival but for their home, their freedom, and everything they had built. This was the first indication to the Council that something was wrong. The human response wasn't conventional, it wasn't predictable. And it wasn't enough to simply dismiss. Every countermeasure the Council employed seemed to have an unexpected flaw. Humans were resourceful, pulling off ambushes and using terrain in ways the invaders had not anticipated. Earth's defense networks, though outdated, were enough to cause significant damage to the invaders' fleet. But even more surprising was the human adaptability. Every alien strategy the Council put forth was quickly countered by humans, who quickly adapted to the new alien tactics and found ways to exploit their weaknesses. The Council's initial assessment of humanity was proving to be catastrophically wrong. And by the time they realized their mistake, the seeds of humanity's resilience were already beginning to take root. What they thought would be an easy victory had suddenly become a much more complicated affair, and the Council began to recognize that they had underestimated a species unlike any they had encountered before. As the invasion progressed, the Galactic Council began to realize the gravity of their mistake. The humans were not the weak, defenseless species they had assumed. They were far more resilient than anyone had given them credit for. Every time the Council sent in reinforcements, humanity responded with unexpected force, utilizing their environment and resources in ways the invaders had never seen before. Earth's military leaders quickly adapted to the alien tactics, using guerrilla warfare, traps, and ambushes to surprise the much larger and technologically superior enemy forces. It became clear to the Council that this wasn't going to be the easy conquest they had envisioned. Humanity's military forces, while technologically inferior to the Council's, displayed an extraordinary ability to improvise. They had a unique talent for using what they had in creative and efficient ways. Earth's defense systems, which had once seemed outdated and ineffective, were now being repurposed. Weapons that had once been used for research and exploration were now being deployed in new lethal configurations. Humans didn't rely on brute strength alone. They used intelligence, creativity, and unpredictability to their advantage. Alien fleets, once thought to be invincible, found themselves caught off guard by human tactics. The Council's inability to predict humanity's response was their first real wake-up call. As alien forces moved deeper into Earth's atmosphere, they found that the terrain, the cities, and even the weather were all enemies they hadn't planned for. Humans fought with every available tool, from everyday objects to newly developed weapons that turned the tide of battle. Even Earth's civilian population, previously seen as powerless, became an unexpected asset in this conflict. The everyday ingenuity of humans, their ability to think on their feet and adapt to rapidly changing situations, became a force to be reckoned with. At the heart of humanity's resistance was a deeper force, the unyielding will to protect their home. The humans weren't simply fighting to survive, they were fighting for their very way of life, for their families, for their freedom. This emotional drive, something the Council had completely failed to account for, was a weapon far stronger than anything the aliens had anticipated. It gave humans an edge that couldn't be measured by technology alone. It was something raw, something primal, and it made them far more dangerous than any alien foe could have imagined. The aliens, accustomed to dealing with species that were easily crushed under the weight of advanced technology and overwhelming military power, found themselves in a conflict where brute force alone wouldn't win the day. Their intelligence networks, which had once been the backbone of their dominance, were now struggling to keep up with the speed and unpredictability of human tactics. The humans had turned their underestimation into their greatest weapon, by fighting not just with their guns and ships, but with their hearts and minds. As the weeks went on, the Council began to lose more and more ground. Their fleets were decimated by human ambushes and surprise counterattacks. Even their superior technology, which had once seemed unstoppable, was now being turned against them. The tide was beginning to shift, but the Council refused to accept the reality. They had underestimated humanity in ways that would prove impossible to correct. The humans were fighting not just for their lives but for something far more powerful, something the Council had completely overlooked: their fierce, unbreakable spirit. With every passing day, humanity's hidden strength became more and more evident. The Council's disbelief was palpable as they watched human forces rise from what they once saw as the ashes of defeat, pushing back with an intensity and brilliance that had previously been unimaginable. The alien invaders, now on the defensive, struggled to comprehend how a supposedly weak species could cause them so much trouble. But it wasn't just brute force or advanced technology that was shifting the balance. It was humanity's ability to adapt, evolve, and outthink their foes at every turn. As the Council scrambled to reinforce their forces, they were met with an alarming reality: the humans had unleashed their true power. Earth's scientists and engineers, who had long been working in secret, began to reveal technologies that had previously been concealed. Reverse-engineered alien technology, which the humans had been studying and adapting, was now deployed in full force. Weapons and defense systems once thought to be beyond human capability suddenly became part of Earth's arsenal, turning the tide of battle. The aliens could no longer rely on their technological superiority. Humanity had caught up and in some areas surpassed them. But it wasn't just technology that made the difference. The true power of humanity was not in their machines, but in their capacity for unity and creativity. The Council had expected to crush Earth's military forces with overwhelming power, but what they hadn't accounted for was the relentless human drive to protect their people. Each human, from the soldier on the front lines to the engineer in a lab, played a vital role in this resistance. They fought not just for survival but for something far more precious: their families, their freedom, and their very way of life. The human response to the invasion shifted from defense to offense. It became clear that Earth's forces were no longer simply trying to survive. They were going on the attack. The counteroffensive was swift and brutal, catching the Council's forces off guard. Humanity's newly developed fleets, armed with advanced technology and guided by their unmatched tactical ingenuity, began to push into enemy territory. The Council's fleet, once considered invincible, was now on the run, forced to retreat as they faced not just superior military tactics, but a willpower they had never encountered before. Humanity was no longer the underdog; they had become the aggressor. The greatest shock for the Council came when they realized the true nature of human power. It wasn't just about technology or sheer numbers; it was the unity and determination of the human race, the ability to come together in the face of overwhelming adversity and create something far greater than the sum of its parts. The humans had proven themselves to be a force unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Their capacity to rally together, to think outside the box, to innovate at every turn, was something the Council could never have anticipated. And humanity's power didn't just stop with their military capabilities. As their victory seemed inevitable, other alien species, once subjugated by the Council, began to rally behind the humans. These oppressed races, who had once feared the Council's might, now saw humanity as a beacon of hope. They saw the strength of the human spirit and were inspired to join the fight. The Council had thought they could conquer Earth easily, but instead, they had sparked a revolution that united the galaxy's downtrodden in a way they had never imagined. The human counteroffensive reached its peak as Earth's forces took the battle to the Council's homeworlds. Alien fleets, once thought invulnerable, were now being torn apart by humanity's relentless drive and newfound technological might. The Council, which had so arrogantly dismissed humanity as a threat, was now scrambling to maintain control of their empire. Every strategy they employed seemed to fall apart in the face of human ingenuity. Earth's forces, having learned from every encounter, adapted to the Council's every move, countering them with precision and brutality. In this moment, humanity's true power was unmistakable. It was not just their technology nor their tactics, nor even their individual courage, it was their ability to inspire, to unite, and to never back down from a fight. The Council had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and now they were paying the price for it. The Galactic Council, once the unchallenged rulers of vast stretches of the galaxy, found themselves on the verge of collapse. The force they had sent to Earth, expecting a quick and easy victory, had been decimated. Their fleets lay in ruins, their supply lines shattered, and their once imposing armies scattered across the stars. The humans had fought with a unity and purpose that none of the Council's most brilliant strategists had seen before. And now, the humans were taking the fight to their doorstep. For the first time in centuries, the Council faced true defeat. They had arrogantly assumed that their technological superiority would ensure their victory, that their advanced weapons and tactics would render humanity powerless. But they had failed to account for the one thing that could never be measured by sensors or intelligence reports: the human spirit. This wasn't just a battle for Earth, it was a fight for everything humanity held dear, for their freedom, and for the preservation of their identity. As humanity's forces advanced, they did so with the full might of their newfound allies, those oppressed species who had once been crushed under the Council's boot. These former slaves, inspired by humanity's unrelenting fight, had joined forces with Earth's military to take down the once indomitable empire. The Council's power, built on centuries of domination, had crumbled in a matter of months. They had underestimated the humans, and in doing so, they had sown the seeds of their own destruction. The final blow came when Earth's forces, now backed by an unprecedented alliance of intergalactic rebels, launched a direct assault on the Council's homeworlds. The very core of their empire was exposed, vulnerable to the might of the human-led coalition. Humanity, once seen as an insignificant species, had now become the leaders of a galactic revolution. And the Council, in their desperation, could do nothing to stop it. In the midst of the final conflict, the Council's leaders realized the full extent of their error. They had dismissed humanity as weak and unworthy, blind to the fact that their true power lay in something far beyond the Council's understanding. It was not just their military might, their technology, or even their strategic brilliance. It was their capacity to inspire others, to unite species, and to rise up against tyranny. The humans had proven that even the most advanced civilizations could be defeated if they underestimated the strength of the human will. The Council's fall was swift. With their fleets in ruins, their political structure shattered, and their leaders in disarray, the empire they had built crumbled. What was left of the once mighty Galactic Council fled, scattered across the galaxy, while Earth and its allies stood victorious. The victory was not just a military one, it was a symbol of the enduring power of humanity's resolve, a reminder that no matter how powerful an enemy might seem, they could never break the spirit of a united human race. Humanity's victory marked the dawn of a new era. With the Council's defeat, Earth emerged as a new power in the galaxy, its influence extending beyond its borders. The humans had not only saved their planet but had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with on the galactic stage. The message was clear: underestimate humanity at your own peril. The Council's defeat also had a profound impact on the galaxy as a whole. The formerly oppressed species who had fought alongside humanity now looked to Earth as a beacon of hope. The humans had shown that no matter how overwhelming the odds, unity and resilience could overcome even the most formidable of foes. And as the galaxy rebuilt in the aftermath of the Council's fall, one truth remained undeniable: humanity had risen to the occasion, proving that their true power lay not in their technology, but in their unbreakable will to fight for freedom, justice, and the future of their species.